That is an impressive skyline. And here we are at one of the more remote amusement parks there is, especially among major amusement parks. So you walk under the highway and you arrive out to here. And I gotta buy my ticket. I did not buy it in advance. So one-day ticket at the ticket office is $89 after tax. Parking was $10, so $99 in total. That's all right. I could have saved about $10, $12 by buying it online in advance, but I just didn't want to mess with it. This was easier. And check it out, you still get a park map here. That is becoming more and more rare all the time, but you can still get it here. And that is great for me, considering I've never been to this park before. I did make some notes. I did a little hand-drawn map of the highlight rides I gotta make sure I get on, but this is gonna make it a lot easier. Well, there's the water park over there. I see a water coaster. They also have some shows here. A singing trio and an illusion show. And we're in. It's been a long time since I've had a first visit to a major amusement park. Granted, I'm not a big fan of the large RMC Raptors, but I've really enjoyed the smaller ones. We got a Larson arm drop tower. Those are always fun. Got an inverting frisbee. So far, not really that big of a crowd at all. So maybe they just wait until later to open the coasters. Tremors is running with people on it. The Timber Terror, really smooth, not really any airtime. Maybe a smidge of floater on some of the hills. Nothing on the drop. Does it even count as a wood coaster anymore? I saw a lot of iBox on there. I don't know. I was noticing a lot of iBox on this one too. So this one should probably be called a CCI/RMC hybrid. Timber Terror is running one train. That's all it needs. I think Tremors is going to be the better ride. Timber Terror is an out and back with the helix. Very simple, basic layout. Tremors looks a little more interesting. I heard about this one going under the gift shop. The airtime was really solid on it too. Had a couple of great lateral moments on it too. It was really smooth. Of course, it's got the iBox the whole way. I saw them sending a test train out. I saw them sending a test train on Stunt Pilot while I was on Timber Terror. But you got that staggered seating of the Vekoma trains. Oh my gosh, that was awesome. That is so much better than Goliath at Six Flags New England. RIP. Those original trains make so much of a difference. It only had a very slight rattle to it. And I mean very slight. I did ride the front. I'll try further back. In the back, it's a lot rougher. So if I ride it again, I'm gonna stay as close to the front as I can. However, even with that almost in the back ride, that was still way, way, way smoother than Goliath. I'd say the roughest row on this, which is probably the back, is gonna be way smoother than the smoothest row was on Goliath. Terrible trains they put on Goliath at Six Flags New England ruined the ride, ruined the experience. Aftershock still has the original trains, and that makes it still a great ride. I've walked on everything so far in the first hour, got 5 rides. One on Timber Terror, 2 each on Tremors and Aftershock. Now time for Stunt Pilot. that was so good. It shouldn't really be a surprise to me that this is my favorite new credit of the year so far. In fact, I think Cannibal is the only thing that could possibly top this. It is so smooth, and I can put my knees in a position that doesn't hurt. So that station wait at Stunt Pilot was basically a 7-minute wait. Tiny Toot is operating. Time to get the kitty credit. I was the only one on the train, and hopefully nobody else saw me. Nah, I'm not actually that embarrassed by it, but I was the only one on there. There it is, the original modern looping coaster. Originally at Knott's Berry Farm, now moved to Silverwood. This was the start of a revolution. The first successful inversions ever on a roller coaster. And I rode it twice. I rode it in the next to last row, got a good pop of airtime on the drop. Of course, the corkscrews, give some good hang time. The first ever successful inversions on any roller coaster. Knott's Berry Farm is not worthy of a ride this great. I'm glad it got moved to a much better park. And here's one that is honestly shocking to see at a major amusement park. You don't normally see an SBF spinner at a regular amusement park. And that one did spin pretty good. Did something different each round. So it just hit 1 o'clock, and I've got all 7 coaster credits and done 11 rides in total in the first 2 hours. It is just shocking how light the crowd is here. After what I experienced yesterday at Wild Waves, just unbelievable, unbelievable crowd. I know that was a weekend, but still, that was absolutely insane. And again, this is a crystal clear, beautiful day. No chance of rain. It's warm. If it's too warm for you, they got a water park. So I'm surprised that the park is not packed, although maybe they're all over there. 5 laps in on Stunt Pilot. Done 3 in the back, 1 in the front, 1 in the middle. It is such a smooth ride. It's smoother than Railblazer or Wonder Woman. The Fiesta Texas Wonder Woman. It's definitely smoother than the Magic Mountain Wonder Woman or Jersey Devil. And even though this doesn't have the 90-degree drop, even though it doesn't have the dip and the turnaround, I still like this more than the prototypes. I am able to manage these seats a lot better than on the large Raptors. As you can tell, the Wonder Woman at Magic Mountain, I said that's a one and done, and I mean one in my lifetime and done. Jersey Devil, I'll never ride again. But this, I've ridden 5 times, and I'll ride it a lot more before the day's over. This is my favorite in the park and my favorite new credit of 2025, at least so far. So Timber Terror uses PTC trains. But what kind of Frankenstein coaster is Tremors? It's a CCI, but it has GCI Millennium Flyer trains and RMC track. Oh, I'm actually scared. That catch right there, that's almost like the holding brake on the Instrument Impulse coasters. I took an hour to do the water park, did a few slides, didn't do the water coaster. Then I did the train ride. That was pretty cool. Takes about 35 minutes. I did 10 rides on Corkscrew for the nostalgia. Got a appreciate the history of the ride. It's crazy to think that in the mid-70s, when this opened up at Knott's Berry Farm, people lined up for hours to ride that very short ride. My last 2 rides were on Tremors, and I fell 1 ride on Tremors short of having 4 rides with 10 laps today. I did 10 laps on Corkscrew, 10 on Stunt Pilot, 10 on Aftershock, and 9 on Tremors. And I did 3 on Timber Terror, and then 1 on each of the kiddie coasters. I did this inverting frisbee. I did 4 rides on the Larson Arm Drop Tower, 3 water slides, the train ride, and a show. I definitely got my money's worth out of this day. Yes, it was $100 to come here, counting the parking, but I definitely got my money's worth. Now, this is a Monday. I can't imagine that you'd have crowds like this on a weekend. Yeah, people that go to the water park start doing the rides after 7 o'clock, because that's when the water park closed. So lines started building up a little bit. Tremors got a bit of a line, so that's the main reason why I didn't get to 10 on it. I did not do the log ride. If I'm wearing water shoes, I'm all right with doing log rides, but I do not like soaking wet shoes when I'm at an amusement park. And that's the end of a phenomenal day here at Silverwood. One of the best park days I have ever had in my life. Like I said, you come here on a weekend, you're probably gonna have bigger crowds, longer lines, but this on a Monday was just incredible. And I did something I don't usually do. I stopped to get some merch. I'm not much of a merchandise person, but they had a Corkscrew t-shirt, a commemorative Corkscrew t-shirt, and it was the last one in my size. I buy things that have practical use. I don't just buy little trinkets just to sit around and collect dust. I buy things that I can actually use, like a t-shirt and fanny pack. Don't know if I'll be making any stops anywhere tomorrow because I got a long drive. Heading to Lagoon on Wednesday. That looks really great in the twilight. And a few notes I forgot to mention while I was at Lagoon. On Tremors, for a lot of the day, they had strict row assignments. They were filling the train from back to front. And you had to be really crafty if you were gonna request anything else. Now, if the train has to be backloaded, let's say that the train is not gonna be full, that the people all need to be sitting in back for some reason, valley risk or whatever, then I can understand them doing it that way. But what was interesting is that when the train would be full, they would still, and they could tell it's gonna be full, they would still fill back to front. They would assign rows from back to the front and not honor any requests. So it was really strange. But then they didn't always have a grouper there, so in those cases you just pick whatever row you want, and it was never a big deal. Now, another note is that the park is just like Dollywood and Silver Dollar City in that they never allow re-rides under any circumstances. Even if nobody's waiting for your row, even if nobody's waiting in the station at all, you have to walk all the way around. Now, that's not really that big of a deal, but it is something to note. If you are looking to get just a ton of rides in a day, it's hard to do it without being able to have those opportunities to stay in your seat and not have to walk around. So with that, that just tells you about the kind of day that I had there to be able to get 44 coaster laps and not being able to get any re-rides. Most of the times that I go over 40 coaster laps in a day at a park, I'm usually able to get re-rides. Just like Silver Dollar City, just like Dollywood. Now, they aren't owned by the same company, but they follow that same policy. And of course, I'm not going to argue about it or complain about it, but I will pass the information along that that's just the way they operate so that you'll know. And if you're wondering about this dashboard, different than the dashboard that I've shown you on some of my other videos, this is in my Honda Fit, and 38.8 miles per gallon is certainly not as good as I would get if I were driving the Mitsubishi Mirage, but the Honda Fit does have more space. For a 2-week trip, I needed that more space. With the Honda Fit, that is still a good mark, and this is capable of getting into the 40s, into the low 40s, but not with the kind of driving that I've been having to do with the mountain driving, driving into the wind on this leg. So I've been in the upper 30s for most of the trip, which is still really good for a car that's rated at 33 on the highway. I don't know why I'm going so fast right now. Oh, I'm going downhill. I took the Honda Fit because I needed the extra space that it offers. It's about 10 inches extra in length, and you really notice that extra length. So this car has worked out great for this trip. It is really giving me what I needed. The Mirage, just not quite big enough for what I was going to be doing on this trip and how I was going to be operating this trip.